Hello and welcome to Wisdom Forge. How stress destroys learning and memory. The villain, cortisol, and the biology of stress. Cortisol, a principal stress hormone from the glucocorticoid family, plays the role of a villain in the story of stress and learning. Secreted by the adrenal glands perched above the kidneys, cortisol can significantly affect brain health. The adrenal glands respond quickly to neural signals, hinting at their evolutionary roots possibly being closer to the brain. When the body is under chronic stress, it floods the central nervous system with these stress hormones, leading to dangerous consequences, especially for the hippocampus, the brain region vital for memory and learning. Cortisol can increase vulnerability to further damage, disconnect neural networks, and block the birth of new neurons. Severe stress can even lead to the death of hippocampal cells, impairing our ability to learn, remember, and adapt. How stress alters memory and induces depression. Chronic stress doesn't just affect memory, it can push individuals into clinical depression, which is far beyond occasional sadness or grief. Depression, caused in part by long-term exposure to stress hormones, disrupts core cognitive functions like memory, language, reasoning, and perception. Many sufferers feel permanently trapped and unable to see a way out, despite depression being highly treatable. This mental state often leads to a dangerous lack of motivation to seek help. The brain essentially undergoes cognitive shutdown, much like a heart experiencing failure. Clearly, chronic stress does more than hurt learning, it undermines the core of our psychological and emotional well-being. The hero, BDNF, is brain's natural defense. Countering the destructive effects of stress hormones is BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, the brain's own neuroprotective protein. Found primarily in the hippocampus, BDNF supports the growth and survival of neurons even under stressful conditions. It acts like a peacekeeping force, maintaining neural health in hostile environments. However, when stress is prolonged and intense, cortisol can overpower BDNF's protective influence. Chronic exposure to glucocorticoids can even switch off the gene responsible for producing BDNF, making the brain increasingly vulnerable. Thus, while BDNF plays the role of a hero, its defenses can be overwhelmed by excessive, unrelenting stress, leading to long-term damage. Genetic buffer and human resilience, the story of Jill. Not everyone breaks under stress. Some, like Jill, demonstrate extraordinary resilience. Born into extreme adversity, with a violent, abusive father and a mentally ill mother, Jill endured trauma that could have led to lifelong psychological damage. Yet, she grew up to be a well-adjusted, successful student and leader. Her story illustrates the complex interplay between genetics and environment. Some individuals possess a form of psychological armor that enables them to withstand severe stress. Jill's case challenges the assumption that traumatic childhoods always result in emotional dysfunction, highlighting the brain's variability and capacity for resilience. Understanding the tipping point, allostatic load. Stress, by itself, is not inherently harmful. Whether it becomes toxic depends on its intensity, duration, and the individual's biological ability to manage it. Bruce McEwen introduced the concept of allostatic load, the cumulative burden on the body from adapting to stress. The body continuously shifts its internal balance to respond to external threats, but over time, this adjustment takes a toll. When the stress becomes too frequent or too intense, the system can break down, leading to a tipping point where stress becomes damaging. This model explains why some people crumble under moderate stress while others endure severe hardship without breaking. Stress at home and its impact on learning, the story of Kelly. Stress within the family can dramatically affect a child's academic performance. A clear example is Kelly, a bright and friendly student who spiraled into poor grades and behavioral issues after her parents initiated a divorce. Once emotionally stable and academically strong, Kelly's performance deteriorated rapidly. Her teacher realized that home life was the root cause. This episode underlines a powerful insight: children's academic outcomes are deeply influenced by their emotional environments. Emotional turmoil at home, especially unresolved parental conflict, often spills into school life, disrupting concentration, motivation, and performance. Personal testimony: when stress becomes overwhelming. The impact of emotional stress on learning is not just theoretical. The author's own experience during high school illustrates this vividly. When his mother was diagnosed with a terminal illness and his father decided to divorce, the emotional shock crippled his ability to study or care about school. He received the only D of his academic career. The sense of helplessness, grief, and isolation severely disrupted his learning, demonstrating how emotional distress can derail even high-functioning individuals. His story reinforces the central message: stressed brains do not learn the same way as non-stressed brains. Children in high-conflict homes, long-term impact. The effects of unresolved conflict in the home extend far beyond academics. Children exposed to frequent parental fighting experience physiological stress responses, elevated heart rates, higher blood pressure, and increased levels of stress hormones. These children often struggle to regulate emotions, concentrate in school, and form healthy social relationships. Long-term exposure can also lead to higher risks of depression and anxiety. Studies consistently show that it is not just divorce, but the presence of continuous conflict that impairs children's cognitive and emotional development, often affecting their future relationships and economic well-being. The cost of workplace stress, a modern crisis. Stress isn't limited to children or families, it plagues the modern workplace too. The case of astronaut Lisa Nowak, who spiraled into bizarre behavior under extreme personal and professional stress, is a dramatic illustration. While her situation was unique, chronic workplace stress is widespread and costly. It leads to absenteeism, reduced productivity, and depression, all of which directly impact an organization's intellectual capital. Depression, in particular, impairs problem-solving abilities and memory, undermining performance in knowledge-based jobs. Despite these clear risks, many workplaces still fail to take mental health seriously, underestimating stress as a major threat to efficiency and innovation. Break the cycle, reduce stress to save your brain. Chronic stress doesn't have to control your life. The human brain is remarkably adaptable. Once the pressure lifts, healing begins. Reducing stress isn't about escaping reality but changing how we respond to it. Start by reclaiming simple habits: deep breathing, daily movement, and focused solitude. Even small changes, like reducing screen time before bed or cutting back on multitasking, can reset your brain's threat system. When stress lowers, your brain begins to rebuild. Peace of mind isn't a luxury, it's your brain's survival tool. Boost BDNF, grow your brain naturally. BDNF, your brain's fertilizer, thrives in the right conditions. Here's how to create them. Move daily, even 20 minutes of walking can trigger a surge in BDNF. Sleep well, quality sleep is when your brain does its repair work. Fast wisely, intermittent fasting, like 14-10, may increase BDNF levels. Challenge your mind, learning new skills signals the brain to grow. Choose real food, omega-3s, berries, turmeric, and green tea feed brain growth. Connect deeply, meaningful relationships reduce stress and fuel neuroplasticity. Don't wait for motivation. Let habit build your mind. Thank you, and let's stay connected. Thank you for joining me on this journey of discovery. If you found this video valuable, imagine what you'll learn next. Subscribe to Wisdom Forge and hit the bell icon so you never miss. White heavy checkmark, more thought-provoking content. White heavy checkmark, practical wisdom for everyday life. White heavy checkmark, the tools to unlock your full potential. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaway or what topics you'd like to see next. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning.